Go. So good morning, grade 7 students. In this video, we're going to do respiration revision for the weeks 20 and 21. So here we have the respiratory system of human, and the most important organ is the lung. The lung is the most important organ. You have to know that breathing consists of two phases, inhalation and exhalation. Inhalation and exhalation, they are known as the respiratory movements. So inhalation is the process of taking in air, while exhalation is the releasing of air outside the body. So let's move now to talk about the respiratory movement in insects. Respiratory movement in insects, these respiratory movements, we have the grasshopper. Abdomen is raised, abdomen is lowered. The abdomen is raised, here we are talking about exhalation. While when the abdomen is lowered, here we are talking about inhalation. So the notes that you have to know them about the respiratory movement in the grasshopper, that if the abdomen is lowered, so the grasshopper has inhaled air. So we have inhalation. While if the abdomen is raised, so here we have exhalation. The grasshopper has exhaled air. So these notes, you have to study them. So the abdomen is lowered, the grasshopper has inhaled air. While if the abdomen is raised, the grasshopper has exhaled air. So these are the respiratory movements of the grasshoppers. So here the grasshopper, we have at this region, we have something called the spiracle that are small opening and they are used for breathing. So here the spiracle, they allow the air to enter into the respiratory organ of all insects. This respiratory organ is called the trachea. So till now, we have two different respiratory organs. The first one is the lungs in mammals, and the second is the trachea in insects. And both of them, they live on land. So till now we have two respiratory organs, as I said, the lungs in mammals and the trachea in insects. Both of them, they live on land. So what about the aquatic life? So whenever we talk about aquatic, meaning that we have water. So the fish says, it's my turn. You have to talk about fish. So here we have the respiratory movements of the fish. We have two important organs. We have the mouth and we have the operculum. The mouth here is opened. So whenever the mouth is open and the operculum is closed, here the mouth is open and operculum is closed. So the water will enter through the mouth into the fish. So here we are talking about the first step, which is inhalation. So mouth is open, operculum is closed. While the second case, the opposite. The mouth will be closed and the operculum will be open. So here, whenever the mouth is closed, operculum is open, the water will go out through the operculum. And here we're going to talk about exhalation. So mouth is closed, operculum is open. So here we have respiration of the fish. Mouth is open, water will enter through the mouth, and it's called inhalation. While the mouth is closed, the operculum will be open, and this is exhalation. So you have to know about the respiratory movement in fish, that during inhalation, the mouth of the fish is open. So during inhalation, mouth is open, operculum is closed. The water will flows into the fish. So this is the first phase, which is the inhalation. The second phase is exhalation, the opposite. During exhalation, the mouth will be closed and the operculum will be open. So the water will flow out from the operculum. And these are the respiratory movements, and you have to study them about the fish. So what is the respiratory organ of the fish? Is it the mouth? Sure no. Is it the operculum? Sure no. We call them the gills. So the gills are the respiratory organs. So here the respiratory movements allow the renewal of air or water in contact with the respiratory organs. So here we have animals living on land like the insects and the mammals. So till now, who can give me a summary about how many respiratory organs do we have and what are these organs? Yes, Sari, the first one to raise his hand. Yes, Sari, your answer is
It says the
yes,
three was called respiratory organs.
yes,
We have lungs in mammals,
very good. Lungs in mammals, and
and we
we
have
have
trachea in insects,
trachea and insects, and then what do you have
the
next?
gills
And
on in aquatic animals.
aquatic animals like the fish. Very good, very good. Thank you, Sari. Thank you. So here the first bonus point it goes for Sari. So thank you, Sari. So Sari said that we have three different respiratory organs. Mammals they have the lungs, insects they have the trachea, and fish they have the gills. So air gets in and air gets out. Air gets in during inhalation, while it goes out through the exhalation. This for animals living on land, while those living in water, water gets in through the mouth and water gets out through the operculum during exhalation. So let's move now to when animals or plants respire, what happens to the air or water? What do they absorb and what do they release? So here we are going to talk about the respiratory gas exchange. Respiratory gas exchange is the passage of respiratory gases between air or water. So air for animals living on land, water for animals living in water, and their different respiratory organs. Before we start, who can give me the name of the respiratory gases? What are the respiratory gases? Yes, raising your hands. Yes, Adnan. So what are the names of the respiratory gases, Adnan?
The name of the respiratory gases
Yes,
are oxygen and carbon dioxide.
excellent. They are oxygen and carbon dioxide. Thank you, Adnan. And here is the second bonus point. It goes for Adnan. Thank you. So respiratory gases, Adnan said they are the oxygen and the carbon dioxide. Very good. So let's move now to this experiment. This experiment is showing the fish. It's found inside a test tube that's connected to a definite probe and connected to the oximeter. The aim of this experiment is to study the gas exchange in the fish. So we have this table. This table is showing the variation of the quantities of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and nitrogen gases in water as a function of time. So at time at time zero, sorry, 0 minutes, the quantity of oxygen in gas in milliliter it was 7 milliliter. Carbon dioxide it was a 3 milliliter, and the quantity of nitrogen was 19 milliliter. As time passes or as time increases from 0 to 6 minutes, the quantity of oxygen it decreases from 7 to about 5.6. Who can tell me what can we deduce from this? The quantity of oxygen is decreased. So the quantity of oxygen is decreased, meaning that oxygen is consumed or oxygen is released. Yes, by raising your hands. Yes, Hassan Watfa. What do you think? The amount of oxygen or the quantity of oxygen is decreasing. So what do you think about oxygen? It's consumed or it's released?
Consuming.
Excellent. The fish is consuming the oxygen gas. Very good, Hassan. This is the third bonus point. It goes for Hassan. Thank you. So oxygen gas decreases, meaning that the oxygen is consumed. Let's move now to carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide at the beginning, at time zero, it was a 3. At the end, it increases to 4.1. So what does this mean? Let's see, raising your hands. Yes, Zainab. The quantity of carbon dioxide increased. What does this mean?
It is releasing.
It's releasing carbon dioxide. Very good. Thank you. And here's a bonus point for Zainab. Thank you. Quantity of nitrogen gas. Nitrogen gas, it's 19 milliliter. And it remains the same, meaning that the nitrogen gas is neither consumed nor released. So there is no absorption or there is no release of the nitrogen gas. So transform this table into a graph. Always the one is found up should be down in the table, and the graph should be down, sorry, and the one is found up down should be up. So always the title of the graph should be given. You have to give a title for the graph. You have to give it a legend if it's necessary. You have to give it a scale, and you have to plot it. You have to draw the graph. So here we have this graph. The red one is for the oxygen, it's decreasing. The green one for the carbon dioxide is increasing, and the one that remains constant is for the nitrogen gas. So let's interpret this. At time equals 0, the quantity of oxygen. Jude and Adnan, you can answer later on. I will give you the chance to do this. Okay, Jude, when the next question is yours. Be ready. So at time equals 0, the quantities of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and nitrogen were 7, 3, and 19 respectively. While as time passes from 0 to 6, the quantity of oxygen reaches the minimum. What does this mean? This means that the fish is consuming the oxygen gas. So oxygen is a respiratory gas. Carbon dioxide, as time passes, the quantity of carbon dioxide increases to reach the maximum at 4.1 milliliter at time equals 6 minutes. This means that the fish is releasing. So whenever the level increases, meaning that it's released. Whenever the level decreases, it is consumed. So here also, carbon dioxide is a respiratory gas. The last one, time passes from 0 to 6. The quantity of oxygen, it remains constant at 19. So this indicates that the fish neither consumes nor absorbs the nitrogen gas. So nitrogen is not a respiratory. So as a conclusion, we can deduce that the fish inhales the oxygen, so it consumes the oxygen, and exhales or releases carbon dioxide. Respiration, what is responsible for the transportation of oxygen and carbon dioxide in our body? It's the blood. That's why we have blood vessels. So here, blood reaching the lungs will be poor in oxygen and rich in carbon dioxide. But wait a minute, the blood inside the lungs or the air inside the lungs is rich in oxygen and poor in carbon dioxide. Okay, so let's move now. What happens to the blood when it enters the lung? This is the big question. Before we ask this question, you have to remember what is diffusion. Diffusion is the movement of particles from medium of high concentration to a medium containing low concentration of the same substance. Here, let's have an example. In this box, we have high concentration, high number of the red dots. In the second, we have very low number of the red dots. So they will diffuse, they will move from medium of high concentration to a medium of low concentration. This is what we call it by diffusion, and the verb is called diffuse. Here we have the table, the variation of the quantity of oxygen and carbon dioxide in blood entering and the blood leaving. Who can do a comparison for the quantity of oxygen and the quantity of carbon dioxide in the blood entering and the blood leaving? So I need first the quantity of oxygen in the blood entering and the blood leaving, and the unit is milliliter. So you have to compare the oxygen in the blood entering and the oxygen in the blood leaving. So let's have for this Adam Hayek. Yes, yes, Adam Hayek. Where's Adam? There's Adam here. Yes, Adam Hayek.
Yes.
Okay.
The quantity of oxygen in milliliter, blood
Yes.
entering the lungs is 15.
Very good. Which is
And blood leaving the, which is
compare. What do we use? We have to use less than, or you have to use greater than, or more
yes,
than.
it's less than blood leaving the lungs is 20.
It's less than the quantity of oxygen
Yes.
in the blood.
Yes.
Do it again. Yeah. Do it correctly. Yeah. The quantity
The blood
of oxygen.
The quantity of oxygen is less than
in the
the blood leaving the lungs.
No. Start from the beginning, Adam. In the blood entering the lungs.
Entering the lungs is less than the blood leaving the lungs.
Yes, but you have to mention the values. Very good. Thank you, Adam. Here's a bonus point.
Welcome.
Thank you. So the quantity of oxygen, Adam, you have to say it like this. The quantity of oxygen in the blood entering the lungs was 15 milliliter, which is less than what? The quantity of oxygen in the blood leaving the lungs, which is 20 milliliter. Let's move to the second one. Leia, can you compare for the carbon dioxide? Leia Dayer? Yes, can you compare for carbon dioxide here and the blood entering and blood leaving?
When the blood was entering, the carbon dioxide and milliliter was 52.
53 milliliter, which is less than or greater than
It is greater than.
the quantity of carbon dioxide were in the blood leaving the lungs. Very good. Thank you, Leia. And there is a bonus point for Leia. Thank you. So here we did a comparison. And let's move. So the blood entering the lungs contain less oxygen than the blood leaving. What does this indicate? This indicates, if one might interpret, oxygen diffuse from where? From medium of high concentration, which is the lungs, to the blood, which is of low concentration. For carbon dioxide, the blood entering the lungs contain more carbon dioxide than the blood leaving the lungs, which is 49. So carbon dioxide diffuses from blood to the lungs. Here we have to study these notes. These notes you have to study them. Gas exchange in the lungs. Oxygen gas, it diffuses from where? From the lungs, that's the medium rich in oxygen, contains high amount of oxygen, to the blood that contains low amount of oxygen. While carbon dioxide, it diffuses from the blood, which is rich in carbon dioxide, to a place that contains low amount of carbon dioxide, which is the lungs. So here you have to study these two terms about the gas exchange in the lungs. So carbon dioxide diffuses from the blood, which is rich in carbon dioxide, to a place containing low amount of carbon dioxide, which is the lungs, while oxygen is the opposite, diffuses from the lungs, since it's rich in oxygen, to the blood that is poor in oxygen. What is the respiratory organs of some animal living on land? We have the lungs. What? Like humans, like the frogs and rabbits. But here, pay attention. The frogs that are living on land, whenever they are on land, so they have the lungs as respiratory organ. Pay attention because we have a special characteristic about the frogs. So when the respiratory organ is the lung, animals they have something called pulmonary respiration. So when the respiratory organ is the lung, so we have something called pulmonary respiration. While other animals, they respire on land, but they don't have lungs. What do they have? They have trachea. These are the insects. So whenever they have the trachea, we call it tracheal respiration. So the type of respiration is called the tracheal respiration. So till now we have two. If we have the lungs, so the type of respiration is called pulmonary. Second, if we have the trachea, so it's called tracheal respiration. So gas exchange in the trachea also we have to study this, that the oxygen gas diffuses from where to where? From the trachea that is rich in oxygen to the organs that are poor in oxygen, while carbon dioxide is the opposite, diffuses from the organs that are rich in carbon dioxide to the trachea that is poor in carbon dioxide. So earthworms, they have a special respiratory organ. It's called the skin. So whenever they have the skin, so we have cutaneous respiration since they breathe through their skin. So what is the respiratory organ of fish? You have the gills. Why there are many blood vessels? Because the blood is responsible for carrying oxygen and carbon dioxide. So here, before we start about explaining the respiration of fish, how many types of respiration did I mention here in this session? Yeah, tell me. How many types and every respiratory organ? What is the respiratory organ in every type? Let's go. Raising your hand. Let's see. I want a new. Yes, Ali Nasiruddin.
Yes.
Yes, Ali. How many type of respiration do we have here in this PowerPoint lecture?
See?
Three. What are they? Can you mention them?
Trachea.
Trachea. What do we call the type of respiration?
What do you call that?
It's called tracheal respiration, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Ali. Let's move to Jude Abdullah. Here is a bonus point for Ali. Jude, Ali said the trachea and we have
Yes.
tracheal respiration. Can you give me another type of respiration? You said trachea. We have tracheal respiration. Can you give me another respiratory organ and another type?
Go.
Gills. So gills, they don't have a special respiratory type. Can you say about animals that have lungs as respiratory organ? What do we call it? Pul. They are called pulmonary respiration. Thank you, Joe. Let's move now to Hassan Isroor. Hassan, they said lungs, pulmonary respiration. They said trachea, tracheal respiration, ya Hassan. Okay? So, where is Hassan? Hassan Isroor? Hassan one, I think. I'm going to set the third time. Whenever we have the insects, they have earthworms, they have the skin, so they have cutaneous respiration. So writing a small text describing the respiratory gas exchange. Whenever the water enters the mouth, water entering is rich in oxygen and it's poor in carbon dioxide. Then the water will reach the gills, where the blood are vessels. They are poor in oxygen and they are rich in carbon dioxide. So oxygen gas will diffuse from where to where? From a medium containing high amount of oxygen, which is the water, to the place where it contains low amount of oxygen, which is the blood, while carbon dioxide diffuses from the blood to the gills. And the last step, water leaves the operculum, poor in oxygen since the fish consume the oxygen and rich in carbon dioxide. These steps, you have to know them because maybe I'm going to ask you about the fish respiratory exchange. Under the water, frogs they respire through their skin. So the skin becomes the respiratory organ. So under the water they have cutaneous respiration. That is special about the frog. Frog is an amphibian, meaning that an animal that lives both on land and in water. On land, they breathe through the lungs, so they have pulmonary respiration. While in water, they breathe through skin, so they have cutaneous respiration. Here we move to the worksheet. First of all, we have this worksheet. So the worksheet, the table below represents the respiratory rhythm of a fish as a function of the temperature of water. How can the respiratory of the rhythm of the fish be identified? How can we know that the fish is breathing? Either by the movements of the mouth and the operculum. If the mouth is open, operculum is closed, it's inhaling. While if the mouth is closed, operculum is open, exhaling. Point B, construct a curve that represents the variation of the respiratory rhythm of a fish as a function of temperature. So here, respiratory rhythm of a fish as a function of temperature. Curve, it means a graph. Okay, it's the same as a graph. So here they gave you a scale. So we have to use the scale. Temperature is found up. Where it should be? It should be down in the graph. So here we have the temperature. You have to write it completely. Temperature in degrees Celsius. And here, what do we have? We have the respiratory rhythm per minute. Okay? You have to write it. Okay, so here they use the scale. On the x-axis, where is the x-axis? 1 centimeter, 5. So here it's 0. So you have to remove 5, then 5, 10, then you have to move 15, 20, 25, and to reach 30. While on the y-axis, which is this axis, this is the y, 1 centimeter, it's 10. So I have to move 10, 20, 30, 40, and so on. So here we have to analyze the graph, and what can we do? Pay attention to the graph. So here is the graph paper. We want to draw the graph here. So we can draw it, let's draw it with a blue color. And here we go. So first of all, I have to draw the graph. So here is the graph. Sure, I draw it using a pencil and sure using a ruler. First of all, I have to write the title. What is the title of the graph? Title, I write it down the graph. So graph showing the variation of the respiratory rhythm per minute as a function of temperature in degrees Celsius. You have to write the title here. Then here we have temperature, temperature in degrees Celsius. And here we have the respiratory rhythm per minute. Okay? So they gave us the scale. The scale is already mentioned in the text. So they said, and the x-axis on the y-axis. So simply you can do like we did before. On the x-axis, every 1 centimeter, it gives what? It gives, they said 5 degrees Celsius. And on the y-axis, every 1 centimeter, it gives 10 rhythm per minute. Okay? Per minute. Okay, so let's start. Here we have the first one, it's 5. Then here it's 10. Then here it's 15. Then here we have 20. So I'm moving 5 by 5. Here we have 25. And here we have 30, which is the last one. And then we're moving 10 by 10 here. So we have here 10. Sure, here it's the 0. We'll have the 0 here for sure. So we have 10, 20, 30. Here we have 40, and here we have 50, and then we have 60. Yep, raising your hands, let's start to plot the graph. First point, to plot the graph. Let's start the first one. Raising your hands at temperature 5 degrees Celsius. When the temperature was 5 degrees Celsius, what is the respiratory rhythm? What is the value of the respiratory rhythm? I need new hands. I want new hands. Lamar, Adam Hajaji, Michael, yes, this is a new hand. Hassan Sur, prepare yourself the next one. Michael, when the temperature was 5, what is the value of the respiratory rhythm?
25.
Okay, here is 5, right?
Yes.
So where's 25?
25 is between 20 and 30.
Very good. So there's 25. So 5, here it's a 25, and we put the dot. Thank you, Michael. Moving to Hassan Isrur. Hassan, the second one. What
Yes.
is the value?
35.
When it's 10, it's what? It's 35?
35.
Okay, 35. Where's 35?
Between 30 and 40.
Between 30 and 40. Very good. So here is 35. Sure, you have a graph paper, and it should be done on a graph paper. 10, it's 35. Very good. Let's move to the next one. So you see we have, let's move to Sari again. Sari, or I need new hands. Do I have new hands here? Aya, yes, Aya. When it's 15, what is the value of the respiratory rhythm? Aya? I think Aya 1. So Reem Safiuddin. Okay, Reem?
Yes,
Okay, when it's 15, what is the value of the respiratory rhythm?
40.
40. Here's 15 and here's 40. So we'll put the dot here. Yes, let's move to Carlo. Carlo, what is the value when the temperature was 20?
Sorry, can you please repeat?
Okay, when the temperature was 20, what is the value of the respiratory rhythm?
45.
45. Where's 45? It's between 40 and 50.
Between
in the middle.
Yeah.
So here's 45, and here we plot the point. Thank you. Moving to Hala Safiuddin. Hala, when the value is 25, what is the value of the respiratory rhythm?
48.
48. Where's 48? It's before 50 by 2 dots, 2 dashes. So here is 48. So here, 20, here it's 48. Thank you, Hala. Moving forward, Hassan Watfa. Hassan, when it's 30, when it's 30
60.
temperature, 60. So you have to put it here. And then we have to connect the dots, okay? I don't have a ruler, that's why it goes like this with me. So it should be better with you. I don't have a good pencil here. So it should be like this, it should be connected. So first of all, you draw the graph. We have to give it a title. You have to write the title here, graph showing the variation of the respiratory rhythm per minute as a function of temperature. Then you have to continue with to write the scale, to write the title of the axis, don't forget this, and then finally you have to plot it. So first, Write the title. This is the first step. Second, you put the scale. Third, you put the title for the axis. There's the title for the x-axis and the y-axis. And the fourth step is to draw the graph. And this should be done where? On a graph paper. And it should be done using a pencil and only a pencil. You can't draw the graph unless it's on a graph paper. So if one analyze this, how can we analyze this? So when the temperature was 5, the respiratory rhythm of the fish was 25 per minute. As temperature increases from 5 to 30, the respiratory rhythm of the fish increases from 25 to 60 per minute. They said respiratory rhythm per minute. So it increases from 25 per minute to 60. What can we deduce or what can we conclude? That as the temperature increases, the respiratory rhythm of the fish increases. So you have to pay attention to the graph, how to draw a graph, and how to analyze this